Hello, NFL fans, Atlanta Falcons fans. It's Saturday, and another time take an hour out of your day and join us for another Jackson Pigskin show. This is Tom Pollen. Dave Holcomb is still on diaper duty for the next couple of weeks. New dad and diapers. That's always a fun combination. But don't ask Mike and me that because we don't have kids.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I really, really do not like the word jock. Like that, it just doesn't sit well with me. I've never wanted to be called a jock, but I'll deal with it for now.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody who watches Mad Mike Sports and 95 Nation, know I have to start out with something weird. So
that's all right.
Weird statement of the day. Weird statement of the day.
You know, I love it. I'm with you. I love having that.
I know.
This is great stuff. So, but yeah, so we're gonna hit. Dave will be out another couple of weeks, and plans on being back for training camp. So, looking forward to having him back. But we have Mad Mike of Mad Mike Sports here. Always fun to have him on, and looking forward to today's show because, I know you've been addressing a few of these last week, Mike. And
yeah.
I've been doing some reading, especially Pro Football Focus and NFL.com, and a lot of these they're coming out with their preseason rankings. It's dead time. It's dead time in the NFL. You don't have a lot of news coming out of NFL camps ever. It's kind of quiet the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, I've been struggling.
As we said before, we got to see the NFL is probably going to come up with something for June just so they could get the excitement rolling, keep the excitement rolling, because the NFL is, 24/7, 365, or they want to be. That's their goal. So
I would appreciate it because I'm tired of really starting trouble. Like I start trouble when I have no content. So anybody that knows me know that I like to start trouble every once in a while when I'm bored. I like to call myself Skip Bayless. I'm Skip Bayless a bit.
Oh, that's great. Well, here we have you on. We're going to talk some of these position rankings. And I'm looking for comments. I'm looking for a lot of the comments to be filled up today.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I want to hear what you guys have to say about what Pro Football Focus and NFL.com had to say about the Falcons and about the NFC South. So, and I'm asking you to kind of take your fan hat off for a little bit. When I first started writing, when I first started covering the Bears, one of the things I always felt when I was doing the fans a service was taking my fan hat off and just saying calling things for what they are instead of being always supportive, always kind of positive about the team, trying to be a fan about the team and writing that way. You got to analyze this. Is Pro Football Focus, NFL.com, do they have the right take on the Falcons and what we're looking for with the Falcons in 2023? So we'll get into that in a minute. But first, I want to bring up the sponsor of the show, Prize Picks, sponsor of Atlanta Sports Unlimited. As I said, Prize Picks, they will match up to $100 of your first deposit. So your first deposit's $100. They will double it. Pantera, we will get to what PFF says in just a moment. Don't worry about it. That's going to be the show. So but Prize Picks matches up to $100 of your first deposit. Plenty of options to choose from as far as Prize Picks, what they are putting out there, what sports you have an option to put player props on. Do you have confidence in your player props, your ability to predict what's going to happen in the season. How about you, Zozo? Do you have confidence in your ability to predict the season? Of course, Zozo has to get involved. She's been napping all morning.
That's the daily takeover.
Yeah. But a couple of things. If you want to bet, if you want to put player props down on the upcoming NFL season, you can do that. As I say, they have Desmond Ridder, a season for passing yards, 2,575 and a half passing yards. Are they going to go over that? They're going to go under that. Funny thing is, I was looking at the quarterbacks earlier. They have the two rookies, Bryce Young for Carolina and C.J. Stroud for Houston. Bryce Young is 3,475 and a half yards. C.J. Stroud for Houston, of all teams, 3,425 and a half yards. So they have these two rookies going for 1,000 more yards for the season than they have Desmond Ridder. Good or bad? Go ahead, go on the Prize Picks. Make your first deposit of $100, at least $100. They will match up to $100. Give it a look. You never know. So you'll also put player props on Major League Baseball, soccer, NBA season, next NBA season. We just got done with an NBA season, and they got prop
already. Yeah, that's interesting.
It is really amazing. So, as I say, Prize Picks is a sponsor of the show, supporter. Support Atlanta Sports Unlimited, support the show. Go to Prize Picks and get started. All right. So, Pantera asked earlier, he says, what does PFF say? And, well, here's what PFF says. Now, overall, PFF thinks that the Falcons are very capable of winning the NFC South this year. I didn't say AFC South. I've been saying AFC South for 2 years. They think the Falcons are very capable of winning the NFC South this year. However, their ratings of different position groups, they're rating down in the bottom fourth of the league in nearly all the position groups, except for running back. Let's start with running back. That's kind of where, Mike, you pointed out this last week. PFF had the Falcons rated the second best rushing attack in the game.
Yes, sir.
And just outstanding. And of course they're going to be. I think there's no chance that they can avoid being the second best rushing attack in the game because you get so many guys who can run the rock. You got B.J. Robinson, Tyler Algier, who was outstanding last year, and Caleb Huntley, and of course Cordero Patterson. So you have a lot of options. There are going to be a lot of options in the backfield. A lot of ways the Falcons can run the ball this year. Not just up the gut, not just between the tackles. They're going to be able to go outside and do a few things. Interesting, they had Tyler Algier. They also said he was one of the best backs in the league against zone concepts, against zone defenses, which is a little surprising considering that, my only problem with Tyler Algier is, the guy runs like a tank, but he's not fast. He can't gain speed at the second level, which I think is what they get out of Bijan Robinson. Somebody who you get him free in the second level and there's not going to be any catching him. So, but Algier, 886 rushing yards against zone runs and 2 rushing touchdowns. Best in the league. Their rushing grade was 88. So, and again, that's even, that's Caleb Huntley was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th of the 79.3 grade on zone rushing runs. So, a lot of positives for the Falcons on the ground. And I'm going to be interested to see how Arthur Smith uses this. And I think we've talked about this before, but there are a lot of ways that the Falcons are really going to create a lot of trouble on the ground for opponents.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me, personally. I think partially due to the fact that there's a tale of two halves as far as Tyler Algier is concerned. Like he played well with Mariota and he played well with Desmond Ritter. So one of those guys have the ability to throw, um, and more so in double coverage. Marcus Mariota, for whatever reason, he's never been confident throwing into double coverage. He has to see, the receiver open for him to, cut it loose. So I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Tyler Algier was more comfortable running in zone because of, obviously the quarterback. So I don't necessarily know if that's a factor solely due to his skill set, the lack of speed. I don't know that. I think we'll kind of get a better read on him this year, especially with Kyle Pitts coming back. So I don't know for sure that has a lot to do with his skill set. I do know with teams this year, I wouldn't suggest playing a lot of zone. I wouldn't suggest playing a lot of zone because you have a lot of big guys. You have Janu Smith, you have Kyle Pitts returning. But I think the guy that a lot of people aren't really focused on is Mac Hollins. I think Mac Hollins is going to do a very good job. But as far as the running game and Tyler Algier and the running backs, I don't see a team that's going to be able to stop this. This with CP, with Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson, and there's a sleeper that I've been watching for a while now.
Bring him up. Yep.
And his name is Carlos Washington Jr. He plays a bit like Tyler Algier. He has a little bit more speed, but his footwork is incredible. He has incredible feet. And I think that's a guy to come for me in the preseason. I'm going to keep a close eye on. And I think, if you talk about the Falcons and the NFL and just the running back core, I don't see a better core of running backs that's better than the Falcons right now. They are loaded at running back.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think he's going to get a lot of looks in the preseason because I don't think Algier is going to get a lot of reps. I don't think Bijan Robinson's going to see a lot of action in the preseason, maybe one or two drives.
I hope not. Please no.
Yeah. I know. Don't run this guy out in the preseason.
No.
But the hell of it is you don't want to show other teams, and this is the way it is all across the NFL. You don't want to show other teams your schemes and your new looks and everything that you plan on doing in the preseason. Very base in the preseason. So, yeah, you're not going to see much of Algier. You're not going to see much of Bijan Robinson. So, yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of Washington and see how, he's going to get a chance to really make a difference and make this team. So, I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to keep it. I saw your video on that earlier in the week, and, I think I'm going to keep an eye on him too. I'm looking forward to it. So, Tony Wright, he seems to be, I don't know if he's missing the point of what we're saying about Tyler Algier, what I'm saying about Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier led the entire nation in rushing collegiately in 2021 and with 1,603 yards at BYU his senior year. I'm not dissing Tyler Algier. I am a big fan. Okay, he runs the way I like to see running backs run. He's a guy who'll just take you on. And I like Tyler Algier. Don't say that. Don't think that I am down on Tyler Algier in any way. I just don't think he has a speed. He gets into the second level. He can't make explosive plays.
Right.
He makes plays, but he can't make explosive plays.
Yeah, he's not a big playback. He's going to make big. He's going to have plays that's going to wow you. There's a difference between wow plays and big plays. He's not a big playback. That's why you draft. That's why you have CP. That's why you have Caleb Huntley as well as Bijan Robinson. Like that's why we got Bijan. Bijan is a big playback.
Yep. That's the thing. If Robinson gets into the second level, he can make a lot of bad things happen for defenses.
Right.
So, and that's why he's here. Algier is still going to get his carries. He's still going to get his runs. And he's going to be a big part of this offense, I think. And if anybody can figure out a way to use two running backs, use two tight ends, make an offense out of these guys, I think it's Arthur Smith.
Oh, yes. I've seen him. I've been studying him for quite some time now. I think the thing with him, you gotta have to pay close attention to the Chiefs. The Chiefs' offense is awfully similar to what he uses. It's three teams that kind of use the same formations and same personnel and the same packages and whatnot. And that's San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, Arthur Smith, and Andy Reid. Those guys love to use their running backs in the slot. They love to bring them around on end arounds, put them in different positions where they can get that matchup. You kind of use him like Debo, Elijah Mitchell.
Exactly.
So like there's a lot of similarities as far as the how they run their formations, and this is what Arthur excels at. He's very creative with his formations and putting guys in certain positions where they can, do what they do best. Because like, who would have thought that CP would be a guy that had 1,200 all-purpose yards? Like that's something that we've never. That just shows you, how creative he is. He's going to run the ball. It's a different type of creativity with Arthur. If you're thinking creativity for the passing game, you're not going to see that. But if you're looking at creativity for the running game, being able to put these guys in positions, he uses the wildcat. He used that a lot with Derrick Henry on the goal line. So he's creative, but it's a different type of creativity.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. So I think you're going to see a lot of that out of the Falcons offense this year. I think that that was the whole idea to take in Bijan Robinson. Is now we do have all these different options. We can throw these different looks at you, and we dare you to stop us. And that's what it all comes down to. So, love the running back room. Now we go on to the wide receiver group. The Pro Football Focus is not very high on the Falcons wide receivers. They're ranking the wide receiver group of the Falcons at 24th in the NFL. And a little comparison, they have the Bucs at 10th, Saints 21st, Panthers at 31st. The Bengals rank first. That's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, the Bengals do have the best receiving group you would ever want to see. But you're ranking the Bucs 10th. I know it's Evans and Godwin, but is Baker Mayfield? I guess you're not. You're just ranking wide receivers. You're not ranking who's throwing the ball to them.
Right.
So, Saints 21st, Panthers 31st. You're not looking for a lot out of the Panthers wide receivers this year. Unfortunately, the Panthers also lost Deontay Foreman to the Bears, so might have a problem running the ball this year too.
Don't tell them that though. They don't believe it for whatever reason. They believe in Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I know. So Pro Football Focus says they do acknowledge that the Falcons have good players among their receiver group, but not enough of them because they consider Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson are going to really big contributors to the passing game this year. Not showing a lot of faith in what the Falcons are going to get out of Scott Miller, Mac Hollins, or tight end Jonnu Smith. And I think everybody's underplaying what Jonnu Smith is going to give this team.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Jonnu Smith is one of the best short yard receivers, pass catchers in the NFL. He didn't catch a lot for what was he last year? New England.
Bill Belichick in that offense.
I don't think Bill Belichick used him well because Smith with the Titans, his last year under Arthur Smith in Tennessee, Jonnu Smith, out of his receptions, it was amazing the ratio of first down to receptions. Arthur Smith likes to target Jonnu when he's in short yardage or when he needs a first down. He counts on Jonnu Smith to get it. And, that's always big. Jonnu Smith, considering the amount of targets he got, I think he had 8 touchdowns his last year under Arthur Smith in Tennessee. So the guy got reliable hands, and Arthur Smith loves him. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Jonnu Smith does here in Atlanta this year. Scott Miller and Mac Hollins, how much do you think they add to this Falcons receiver group going into the season?
I don't think people really, especially in this offense, Scotty Miller is going to be a problem. He's a guy that you line up against that third and fourth corners. This dude is fast. Like his hands can be questionable at times, but you're gonna ask him to do like in this offense. We're not asking them to go deep every single play. Like this is not a spread offense. This is an offense where they use a lot of short mid-range routes. They use a lot of slots, a lot of slants, a lot of drag routes, a lot of dig routes. So they're going to ask him to catch the ball in the middle of the field, much like how the Kansas City used Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was a deep threat. At times he did get deep, but for the most part, they use him as a guy to run after the kids. So that's how they're going to use Scotty Miller. And I think if anything, if there's any one particular wide receiver on this Falcons team, I think it's Scotty Miller. That it's gonna be difficult to for safety to shade over him because you got Drake London on the outside, and then you have Kyle Pitts, Jonnu Smith. Those guys are pretty fast, running about a sub 4.5 or so. So those guys have speed, and trying to keep up with the Scotty Miller, who runs a 4.2, 4.3 in the middle of the field. That's kind of how the kids got a lot of passes the last couple of years as well, being the leading receivers because like you couldn't pay him much attention. So, and Scotty Miller is a lot, in my opinion, I think he's a lot better receiver than Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus is a better route runner in my opinion, but Scotty Miller is much more dangerous in this particular offense. But I think Scotty Miller, Mac Hollins, he's another one of those guys. He's kind of a Drake London. He uses his body well. You wouldn't think he's a deep threat because he doesn't run fast, but for whatever reason, he always seemed to make big plays.
Yeah. What I loved about how the Chiefs used Tyreek Hill, and thought it was fascinating, is that they would bet that, like in man coverage, nobody could keep up with Tyreek Hill across the middle. Mm-hmm. They would run Tyreek Hill across the middle of the field from the right side to the left side.
Yes.
And basically freeing him up because they figured nobody could cover Hill all the way across the field.
All right across the field. That's really sneaky.
It really was, but it was ingenious how they did that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why Tampa Bay was so successful against Kansas City in the Super Bowl is because they stopped that. They had a defensive back on the other side of the field to take over the coverage as when Tyreek Hill got there. So, you got to watch out. But it's funny we get a speed guy, freeing him up. There are a lot of innovative ways of doing it. So I'm looking forward to see how they do use Scotty Miller in that way. What you were talking about, and maybe trying to run him across the field and seeing if you can't, again, somebody that fast, you just can't cover. It's tough to do.
Yeah, it's impossible to try to cover a guy that run that fast. Most guys don't run that fast, and especially with this offense and the offensive line that's ranked fairly high as well. He's going to have time to get open, and that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, let's talk about the offensive line rankings. They get the Falcons at 7th in the NFL. So they're pretty high on the Falcons' ability to block next year, to protect and to rush. Well, we know the Falcons are going to rush the ball next year. But it would be great if, being 7th in the NFL as far as offensive line, being able to protect and giving Ritter time to find guys like Miller cutting across the field or down the field, or giving him time to find Kyle Pitts down the seam or whatever they're going to do, is going to play a big part in the passing game. And I'm excited by the fact that the Falcons are ranked 7th in offensive line. I don't think we've seen the Falcons ranked that high in quite a while as far as what people think of their offensive line.
This is another testament to Arthur Smith and his scheme. This is why you have to love what he's doing here. Like, it's not pretty. It's not something that's going to sell tickets. He's going to score points, but he's going to protect his quarterback.
Yeah.
He's going to protect his quarterback by any means necessary. So for that, actually, I feel a little disrespected. I think they're at least the fourth best offensive line in the league. I don't really see 6 offensive lines better than what the Falcons. They have one of the best right tackles in the game right now. And he showed with this offense that he can be a dominant right tackle in Caleb McGarry. And I believe he's the best I think he's the best offensive lineman in the league. And Chris Lindstrom, I don't see anybody that's doing what he's doing at this age, this consistently and this dominant. Like, he's dominating elite defensive tackles. Like, they put Vita Vea on the other side. When they line him up against Chris Lindstrom, he does nothing. The same thing for a lot of defensive tackles. It's not a lot of guys, probably the exception of Aaron Donald, but like Aaron Donald is a freak of nature. He dominates everybody. He dominates
problems, yes.
But Chris Lindstrom, he gives up an average of 2, maybe 1 sack a year, like in 17 games. Like, that's crazy. And then you have Dahlman. He had a lot of issues as far as the snaps concerned.
I don't think anybody can complain about his blocking though.
He didn't give up a sack all year. So these are the things. This is why I say I feel a little disrespected, because, like, if you look at this offensive line, they don't make a lot of mistakes up. They don't have a lot of penalties. They're one of the best running games, and they didn't. The quarterbacks didn't get sacked a lot. So it's like, and then Jake Matthews is just Jake Matthews. Like, he's a Matthews. Those guys are brick houses. Those guys, they are just built differently. And you can just count on him. He's not going to be pretty. He does get penalties at the wrong time, but for the most part, it's like this offensive line, the only question right now is whether or not Hennessy or Bergeron is going to, win that job. It's like I said, I don't really see maybe Philadelphia, Green Bay is a toss-up. I think I think Green Bay is a good offensive line, but I don't think they'd be nearly as good without Aaron Rodgers there.
Neither do I. I Jordan Love, I have no faith in Jordan Love.
Yeah, I have zero faith.
I am looking forward to seeing Jordan Love come into Chicago this year.
Right, it's gonna be a bloodbath. I believe that. I don't. So like I said, I don't really see many offensive lines in the league. Philadelphia, they probably have the best offensive line. But like San Francisco, you can throw those guys in there because they're like Kyle Shanahan. He's a lot like Arthur. He's going to protect this. And you have Kansas City. I could say they have a dominant, but I don't know how they're going to do without Brown. So there's a question mark there.
Well, they still have Philadelphia ranked as the top offensive line in the league.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so it's not many offensive line that I think that are better than the Falcons right now. So it's like seventh. I'll take it. I'll grumble about it a bit, but I don't see many teams that have a better offensive line.
Yeah, let's see. They got the Eagles at first, the Browns at second.
The Browns, wow.
The Browns at second. They got the Chiefs at third. Ravens at 4.
I can see that.
Detroit Lions at 5, and the Cowboys at 6. So
yeah, we're better than the Lions and the Cowboys. That's just my opinion. Like, I do like the Lions' offensive line though. They're young and they're getting better.
I from what I've read this week, it seems like a lot of the experts, so-called experts, are thinking that Matthew Bergeron is actually the guy that's going to settle in at left guard for the Falcons.
Yeah, but Arthur is really. I think he may win it, but Arthur's going to make him work for it. It's not going to be given to him. He's going to make him work for that spot.
Yeah, and as well he should. You got to earn it. You're in the NFL now. Nobody's this. This isn't college. You are in the pros. You're getting paid for this now. You better earn it. Exactly. Let's go to the defense secondary rankings. I haven't seen defensive line rankings, but they did have. Let's go linebacker rankings first. They ranked the Falcons at 28th in the league currently at the linebacker position. Harsh, in my opinion, but I mean, God, very harsh in my opinion. I don't think they're looking at. I know Caden Ellis is coming in; he's going to help. They consider Troy Anderson, a draft pick, as a project, as he struggled in pass coverage in college, and Michael Walker is a big question mark. And I think that's what the Falcons have kind of looking, they're holding against them in coming into the upcoming season, looking at those things and saying there are still weaknesses to be seen on this Falcons linebacker unit. How do you think it stacks up? They have the Saints at 4, Bucks at 9th, and the Packers at 16.
Whoa. The Saints at 4.
Yeah. Well, they have the Bears at 1, so I can't argue because they have the Bears at 1, so I love that.
I mean, I won't argue the Bears, but the Saints, like, these guys are getting older. It's like, my thing is, yeah, they were good last year, but they're going to be a year older. They won't have the same defensive coordinator. They won't have the same defensive, like, he's the architect of that defensive line, so you don't know how the new D-line guy is going to make those calls. So it's going to be completely different. So they may not have the same, gap assignments and like those things. So it's like it may be different. So I don't know about it. If they're going based off last year, I still think their linebackers aren't that good because every time we played them, we pretty much took advantage of their linebackers. Defensive line was different. Defensive line was different. Like they have a dominant defensive line, but their linebackers are not that great.
I think maybe their linebackers do benefit a lot from that defensive line.
Defensive line.
I don't think you look at them in a vacuum and say that the Falcons or that the Saints linebackers are are number 4 in the league. That doesn't make it to me. And then you lost Caden Ellis.
And you lost Caden Ellis. That's a huge part of that. I think he had like 8 sacks last year, and he was one of those guys. He was a rotational because the Saints use a lot of nickel dime packages, so it's like they don't use their linebackers as much as the Falcons. So it's like for me, I think if you look at Troy Anderson and what he did when he got that green dot, the Falcons defense plays so much better. You take a look at that game against Tom Brady. Like that defense, they gave them problems, including Michael Walker. They gave Tom Brady problems in that offense. So it's like I don't see. We say that Troy isn't very good in coverage. I don't think that's true. I think a lot of the things that the Falcons linebackers struggled with was the lack of pass rush, and the timing. Veteran quarterbacks, especially, they know how to get the ball out of their hands before linebackers can react, and I think that was something that the lack of experience as far as Troy is concerned, that he has to kind of have to get used to. It's really just the timing for the linebacker. So I don't think he's nearly as bad as they say he is in coverage, because I think a lot of things had to do with timing more so than his inability to cover, because he has the athleticism. He has the athleticism to stick with him, but it's just about experience with him.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to argue. I'm looking forward to seeing how he adjusts, in 2023. Southside 12 mentions that Saints still have Davis at middle linebacker. Yeah, Demario Davis. Yeah, I'm not arguing with that.
Yeah.
5 seasons and just hell of a player. He's the rock in that defense. So yeah, but out of a 3-4 man group, are you still ranking the Saints that high? I don't see it, but sometimes with Pro Football Focus, I don't know. I know how they grade, and I know how they apply their grades. I do have an insight into that, how they do their grading.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I don't think it passes the eye test. What you're seeing on the field sometimes isn't what they're grading.
Yeah, I say that a lot about PFF. I'm not a fan of PFF, but
during the season, it drives me nuts.
I have no idea how they grade during the season
for a game, and I'm like, did you watch the same game as I did? It just doesn't do it.
They had Marlon Davidson as the highest rated guy one game when he played like 10 snaps. I was like, he played 10 snaps. I'm like, how can he be the highest graded player? Yeah, PFF drive me nuts during the season.
Oh, they kill me. But so very low on the Falcons linebackers. This one really gets me. They have the Falcons ranked 23rd in their secondary.
Oh, they nuts. They're insane. They're insane.
Bucks 13th, Saints 19th, Panthers 21st. They're saying that the Falcons are projected to have the worst secondary in the NFC South.
That's just like, look. See, this is why I rant. Who did this? Like, let's be like, are you freaking serious? The worst in the NFC South. Have you seen Carolina? Have you seen the Bucks? Jamel Dean was worked by guys like Zacchaeus, man. It's like what are we talking about? Like these are things that just drive me that. Like, what are you guys watching?
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah, I just don't get it. You pick up Jesse Bates; he's going to be a starter.
Mm-hmm.
You got Richie Grant coming back. AJ Terrell, who was been considered as one of the best quarterbacks in the league since he's coming in the league. Been very good at the position. Kind of been the most valuable player in the Falcons secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Jeff Okudah hasn't proven anything yet and struggled with the Lions, but the ceiling of him is incredible. And I really want to see Okudah in this defense because I think he can thrive in this defense.
Oh yes. As well as Clark Phillips. Like Clark Phillips is another guy that was rated pretty high in the draft, but he ended up falling because of his size. But it's like he's going to be in position where he can make plays on their third and fourth receivers. Like it's like I don't know what these people, man, but whatever they smoking, I need some of it because like you're driving me crazy with these like the worst in the NFC South. You're talking about worse than the Panthers, worse than the Bucks, worse than the Saints. The Saints have a good corner in Marshawn Lattimore, but outside of that, those guys are questionable.
Yeah, one of the best in the league with Marshawn Lattimore. But yeah, other than that, Saints can be beaten in the secondary.
They had I think they were ranked like 20 something in passing or something. It was like 30th in the pass. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's just let me look here real quick.
I know they gave up a lot of passing yards last year.
Now, one of the things with me is on defense, I don't worry as much about yards as I do about points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that.
Because yards, if you can't turn them into points, yards isn't getting you anywhere.
Right.
And see, that was Lovie Smith's entire philosophy, especially seeing it here in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Lovie Smith loved to give up a lot. He could give up yards all day. He didn't care about that with his cover 2 defense. His philosophy was, I want to see you drive the ball down the field in 13, 14 plays and not make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Not get behind the chains at some point, because then we're going to really kill you. We're going to catch up to you there. One more thing. Tony Wright says, he says they never drive me crazy, but I think he meant they drive me crazy because they are wrong and I never listen to them. And I'm with you, Tony. I like following that. I think it's fun to see where the ratings go. As I said, I do know how they rate. I was looking to actually do ratings for them one year and couldn't do it because I just too many problems at home, too many things going on. Tony Wright again. I don't follow PFF or any of those networks. I study and have my own rankings. Let's see.
It's fun. I just like to have a conversation.
So, it's just it's crazy to see. But as I said, I love seeing Lovie Smith. It was a great philosophy here for a long time with the Bears. The only problem Lovie Smith had is he couldn't coach an offense to save his life.
At all.
Yeah.
Right.
No idea what a good offense looked like. But man, the Bears were killer on defense during his reign, during his tenure here in Chicago.
Oh, trust me, we definitely know. Like, if it wasn't for Matt Ryan, we would have been in a lot of trouble with them.
Yeah. So, yeah, you gotta love that. Yeah, the Falcons were 25th in passing yards given up, but again, my problem, and I will say this until I am proven wrong. So somebody prove me wrong. A lot of the problems with the Falcons secondary last year, for one thing, Cam Hayward was done and was gone. But the fact that the Falcons had by far the worst pass rush in the league played havoc with that secondary because you cannot cover receivers for 4 to 4.5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're Jalen Ramsey. I don't care who you are. You're not covering a receiver that long. They're going to get free, and a good quarterback is going to find them.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the way it goes. And I think that's one of the problems with the Falcons last year. I think personnel-wise, it's a hell of a unit. And yeah, I don't agree with Pro Football Focus on that one. I think they're really selling it short. So it's going to be interesting to see. I can't wait for the season to start just to see how Ryan Nielsen has this defense performing next year.
That's what I really want to see how they perform on third down. I think that's
Yeah.
the down for me that I'm focused on.
Well, the thing where I think they're going to have the best impact, the biggest impact on third down is going to be having Calais Campbell here. Because,
Yeah.
having that guy who knows there's nothing he hasn't seen.
Mm-hmm.
If you think a quarterback is going to fool him, it's just not happening. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
Calais Campbell hasn't seen.
They can
And I
teach
think
those
that third
guys.
down, he's going to be an impact this year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. His size is like you can put him anywhere on the defensive line, and that's something that I really believe that's going to impact Grady Jarrett in the middle because you'll be able to have a protective wall anywhere on the line. Grady Jarrett, you can put Calais Campbell and Grady Jarrett next to each other. On
Right.
Manana, like those guys, you have options now. And I think that's the thing. But Calais Campbell is the wild card on this team for me,
Yeah.
uh, especially early in downs. Like teams are going to have to pass the ball, and that's going to obviously lead to more pass rush opportunities for Grady Jarrett and guys like Lorenzo Ebiketie. Um,
Mhm.
so it's like I think that's the thing that I'm most focused on. He's going to force teams because I don't know if you want to run towards Calais Campbell. I don't know if you want to do that.
No, you don't want to do that either. Yeah, the guy has a nose for sniffing out plays.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what's coming at him. Yeah, no, you're not going to run at him either. And that's at 37. He's going to be at 37 starting next season. So, but there's still a lot to contribute, and I think teams are going to be worried about getting behind the chains on the Falcons, or getting behind the chains, or like 3rd and 1, because you are going to see Campbell in, and you're going to see a different pass rush on 3rd down. If you're 3rd and long, you've got problems. This is not going to be as easy of a team to convert against as they were last year.
Right.
I see the Falcons defense getting off the field a lot more this year than they did last year. So looking forward to seeing that. Overall, considering the problems that Pro Football Focus says the Falcons have, they seem, and NFL.com agrees, is that they feel that the Falcons are well positioned to actually make a good run at the NFC South this year. That this is a team, the NFC South is not going to be a strong division. I think everybody has kind of looked at it and agrees, but this is a team that has a lot of capabilities of taking the division, and Pro Football Focus seems to think that, and NFL.com thinks that too. Adam Rank, in his team rankings in the NFC South, mentioned that he finished up with, let's see. So if you watch, you'll notice I picked the Atlanta Falcons to challenge in the division. NFC South isn't that great, and the Falcons roster has plenty of talent, giving Arthur Smith the perfect opportunity to finally break into the postseason after a pair of 7-10 finishes at the helm. And I agree. This is the time to make your move in the NFC South. This is the time to establish a winning atmosphere among the team. This is it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they take advantage of it. Let's put it to you this way. If they don't, if this team struggles again next year, is Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith on the hot seat for 2024?
I don't think so. I don't think, for one, it's really been 2 years. Like this is really the first year that these guys are able to kind of see their vision.
Right.
They pretty much for the first 2 years they were cleaning up, cleaning house. So I don't think it's fair to them, and I think that's Arthur Blank knows that, and it's
Yes.
not fair to judge those guys after cleaning house. Like they cleaned everything, the front office, the players, the
Right.
scouting team, like they cleaned everything. When I mean everything. They cleaned everything. They left no remnants of anything. So I think this is the first year that you'll be able to see where this team could be headed or where they still struggle at. So I think next year, if anything, it'll be a spotlight on the both of those guys in 24 rather than 23. I don't think this year. Like I said, I I had a conversation about this, and it was not a popular one. But I think especially with Desmond Ritter, a lot of people were thinking, whether or not, like, all right, should we consider, like, if he struggles this year, drafting another quarterback? I think that'd be a huge mistake because you'll set the team back not only offensively but defensively because you're starting over. It's like it's now you have to start, the chemistry with the guys. Everybody has begun to really, rally around Desmond, and then it's like, all right, we go. Let's just say the Falcons go 9-8 and miss the playoffs. I think you telling the defense and the teams like, why am I gonna come here? And this is the thing that go with Calais Campbell. These guys coming here because they believe in the personnel, and it's like you take that away after a year. It's like, all right, these guys have no clue what they're doing because they told me one thing, and then the next year you're blowing it all up. So it's just not a good look
No,
to
it isn't.
fire. It's just you don't fire these guys after at really truly after 1 year. It just doesn't make sense for me.
And that's true. Last season, 2022, they were just strangled by the salary cap. There's
Right.
nothing they could do.
NFL history and salary cap did cap my
Yeah,
NFL history.
Cap was just incredible. It's amazing what Thomas Dimitroff, what he ran off before
Yeah.
22. So Tony Wright seems to feel positive about Smith and going into the season. Says, I feel the way head coach Arthur Smith does the Atlanta Falcons are being trained and conditioned to play 20 to 21 games. And he's not talking about preseason games when he mentioned that either. Yeah, we know that, Tony. He's talking about going deep into the playoffs with this team. And Mad Mike, let's bring this up. Mad Mike says NFC championship game. He thinks
Yeah.
they're going to play 20 games too.
Yeah, just a style. Just our style of ball is conducive to consecutive playoff games because like if it's predicated off this. I'm not one of the guys that just throws it out there, but it's predicated off how well the defense. If the defense is anywhere near 15, this is a playoff team because of the style of offense that we play. We take a lot of it's like the Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan doesn't need his quarterback to be elite. He just needs those guys not to make mistakes.
Right.
That's the same thing with Desmond Ritter. So if Desmond Ritter doesn't make mistakes, we continue to run the ball well, and the defense improves dramatically from what 20. We was in the 20s somewhere now. That I think our style of ball because a lot of teams during that time they're beat up. And the Falcons have depth with our running game, with our offensive line, and the defense improves. I mean, Kyle Shanahan has showed you that 2 years straight. Defense, running the ball, they win games 17-9, almost every single game. So can no one tell me that the Falcons can't score 17 points?
Oh, you look at the Niners, yeah, it's amazing. That team just plays incredible defense. They play a crushing defense. And yeah, you can win a game if you're playing defense. But again, being a Bears fan during the Lovie Smith years,
Yes, sir.
again, they played crushing defense.
Yes, sir.
And all they needed to make playoffs, and they did. They made the playoffs with Rex Grossman.
Right. With that, why would I want to say Desmond? Yeah. Yeah, Rex Grossman. Was it Forte or was it Forte at court or running back?
Forte was running back. Thomas Jones and Curtis
Thomas
Enos.
Jones. Yeah, Thomas Jones.
Yeah. And the problem in the Super Bowl is they didn't give the ball to Thomas Jones enough.
Yeah.
Curtis Enos and Thomas Jones. You got Thomas Jones on your bench. Come on. And that's why I say about Lovie not being able to coach offense.
He just lets his offensive coordinator just run him up. That's what he does.
Coordinators were terrible. Yeah, except Ron Turner. Ron Turner got fired after they made the Super Bowl. They struggled. Mike Martz.
Struggled after that.
Come on. Mike Martz was still using tight ends as blockers. He hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
He hadn't. He traded great. So it's just
you gotta evolve. I think that's what got Mike Martz out of the game. He never evolved with time.
Right. Yeah, never stayed up with it. When tight ends were becoming more predominant, when the Patriots started using 2 tight end sets and started making you see what a 2 tight end set could do, Martz wanted to keep them blocking, and that just it didn't work. It was terrible. So, as I said, Lovie Smith just had no idea of offense. But, yeah, if you play a defense and you play a consistent offense, that's all you need is consistent offense, you can do it. They would have won the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman, too, except for the interception.
Yeah. Yeah. You make it to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman, you have a very good team.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I think wasn't Lovie Coach of the Year that year too? Should have been. Should have been.
Yeah, especially with Rex Grossman. If you make it to the Super Bowl with that guy,
So yeah, I like what we're going to see out of the Falcons this year, and no matter what Pro Football Focus thinks about the Falcons defense, I think they make it. I think they're going to be a good team. As I said, taking my fan hat off, I think this Falcons team is primed to make a run. I like what I see here. I worry about the defense, but this offense, the defense, if they could just get off the field on 3rd downs, give up some yards, but still get off the field. I would like to see more turnovers out of this defense.
Well,
that's one of the things that Lovie, the first time Lovie came into Chicago, he had guys falling on loose footballs in practice. If a ball was just sitting on the sidelines in practice, you better.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And I think the Falcons need that too. Fall on everything. It doesn't matter if if the whistle's blown or not. Fall on it.
Mm-hmm.
Get that ball because you never know. Maybe the whistle didn't blow. So, make a play for the ball. Tony Wright, we'll get to him real quick. Tom, Mike, what do both of you think about my comments about the Corey Davis situation as the Jets have to release him because of the money factor? The problem is the Falcons don't have much cap left. And what are they going to be able to pay Corey Davis? I have no problem with seeing them get Corey Davis in. Now, what do you think, Mike, real quick?
I do not want any receivers. I do not want receivers. No more receivers. I'm good with receivers. Especially at this point, there's a huge question mark for me personally when wide receivers are still available at this time, especially with teams like Houston, the Texans. Cleveland, they need a few receivers themselves. Like it's a lot of teams that need receivers. It's like obviously the Bills right now, with Diggs, you have no clue what this guy's gonna do. So there are openings. So if a guy's still, he's still a free agent, that's a huge question mark for me. That's the reason why. I don't think the Falcons. It's like I think Falcons just want to stay away from high price receivers. They do not want to play receivers. Like I don't think I don't think it has much to do with the Julio and Matt Ryan individually. I think it's a collective that they don't want to spend that much money on quarterbacks and wide receivers. So they're going to draft their own guys. They're going to develop the way that they develop them, and they're going to pay them the way that they want to pay them. And that's why you have to have guys that understand. It's like, look, you're not going to get 150 targets plus every season. That's not going to happen in this. You're going to get maybe 90 on targets as the leading receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. So you may see a season where you get like 65 to 70 receptions, and that's the leading receiver for the Falcons. So it's like you're not going to get a lot of targets in this offense. So
Right.
I don't think there's no need to go get a Hopkins or a Corey Davis, because they're not going to see a lot of snaps and they're not going to see a lot of targets.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can't argue that. If they do have a chance to bring Corey Davis in, I wouldn't mind it.
I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it. I definitely wouldn't. I mean, he knows Arthur, so it's like if you know Arthur, like we saw with Michael Pruitt, like obviously he knows the system, so it won't take long for him to get acclimated to the scheme.
But yeah, it's too bad because I really wanted to spend a little time talking about wide receivers across the NFL,
Oh God!
especially with the things that have been
Oh
happening.
wow! It's been an hour. Good God,
I know.
no.
It's amazing, isn't it? I figured we'd have some time at the end of the show.
Right, I didn't realize an hour. Good God.
Because a lot happened with Stephon Diggs, and
Yeah,
very reminiscent of what happened with him in Minnesota.
yeah. I don't know what's that dude's problem.
I don't get it. I think teams are going to look at the same thing with D Hop in a couple of years if they bring Hopkins in.
Yeah,
He's just a guy who never seems to be satisfied
he
with what.
never. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. See, this is the reason why I don't want receivers. Like, if I'm gonna have receivers, I want guys like Mac Hollins. He knows his role. He knows his role. And if he gets 50 catches, he's happy with that. I'd rather have 5 guys that know that they're going to get 40 to 50 catches. They're going to be satisfied with that, and they're not going to cry for 120 targets a year. Like, I don't want that on my team.
No, neither do I. And that's just the way it is. I agree. I know receiver's an important position, and receiver has become important over the last decade in the NFL, but at the expense of running game. But I don't think coaches, I don't think quarterbacks, I don't think teams need that kind of headache when they're trying to come together and win on the field. So it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe we'll get to that next week.
Yeah, it's been an hour. Good God.
Stephon Diggs, a little D Hop, and everything else next week.
Yeah. I might set that up this week, so you might want to stay tuned for that one.
Stay tuned to Mad Mike Sports. It's here on YouTube.
Yeah.
Catch him. Always fun, always great to get his opinion on things and to see what he has to say during the week. I agree with you, Mike. This is just a terrible time of year to try and generate content. Oh man,
it is. I have no idea what to talk. I'm saying everything, so I'm grasping at straws at this moment.
Yeah. But here we go. We've gone through an hour. Amazing. I never would have believed it. But again, want to mention Prize Picks, sponsor of the channel, sponsor of the show. They will match up to 100% of your first 100 match, give you an even match up to $100 of your first deposit. And something I didn't mention earlier that you need to do is use the promo code ASU, Atlanta Sports Unlimited. That will tell them where you came to their site, and support the channel, support the show. Support the channel, follow, like Atlanta Sports Unlimited, subscribe, and subscribe to Mad Mike Sports because Mad Mike does it right. And we love having you on the show today, Mike. Yeah. You know I love you. I enjoy having shows with you. So, everyone, I appreciate you joining us today. Appreciate you continuing to join the show every week. We do not take any of our audience lightly. We love having you here. And we look forward to talking to you again next week. Everybody have a great week.